Welcome back. Today we're watching Papillon, a movie that proves the French prison system is just a really aggressive travel agency. We start with Charlie Hunnam, who is playing a safecracker named Pappy. He's peering through this tiny window like a creep, before using his magical hearing to crack a safe that probably has better security than my bank account. Because stealing from a murderous crime lord is always a high IQ play that never backfires. Paris, 1931, the city of love, lights, and very questionable fashion choices. He heads to the Moulin Rouge to spend his ill-gotten gains. And suddenly, the costume budget runs out completely. We're going to need some heavy blur bars for this part. He gives a diamond necklace to his girl in the net. Nothing says, "I love you," like a felony. They go home to celebrate, blissfully unaware that the plot is about to kick down the door. And just like that, the party's over. The police show up to arrest him while he's in his birthday suit. There is no dignified way to fight the law when you aren't wearing pants. They accuse him of killing a pimp. He says he didn't do it. The police say, "We don't care, we have a quota to fill." He gets life in prison and is sent to processing, which is basically just a room full of naked dudes. It is a total sausage fest in here. We meet Louis Dega, played by Rami Malek. He looks like he got lost on his way to a library. The warden gives a heartwarming speech about how France has disowned them, and they are now property of the swamp. They take the long walk of shame to the boat so the locals can throw vegetables at them. It's a tradition. Now they are packed into a floating cage like sardines, heading to South America. Pappy realizes Dega has money and tries to sell him protection. Dega refuses because he thinks his glasses make him look tough. Look at this guy. He's about to find out that being a millionaire doesn't stop you from getting shanked in the shower. Dega's brilliant plan to survive on good vibes lasts exactly 5 minutes. And right on cue, someone decides to make a late-night withdrawal. This poor guy gets a very aggressive wake-up call, because he made the mistake of hiding his wallet inside his own torso. The thief retrieves the deposit. This is why I keep my cash in a bank, not my spleen. Look at Dega's face. He just realized his "don't look at me" strategy has a 0% success rate. The guards finally show up to inspect the mess. They decide the best way to handle a crime scene is to just kick it out of the way. The next morning, the mood on the party boat is a little tense. Papillon strolls over to remind Dega that he is basically a walking piñata. Dega finally admits that maybe, just maybe, he isn't built for the gladiator life. Later that night, the boys get rowdy again because there is no TV. So the guards turn on the steam, giving everyone a free, scalding hot spa treatment. It's great for the pores, terrible for the will to live. Finally, they arrive at their destination, hell, but with more humidity. Welcome to the camp of transportation, which sounds like a DMV, but is somehow worse. The manager comes out to give his 5-star Yelp review speech. He explains that if you try to leave, the jungle will eat you. And if the jungle doesn't eat you, the sharks will. Papillon hears certain death and interprets it as a fun challenge. Then it's time for the mandatory group shower where everyone forgets their towels. They get settled into the barracks, which smell like regret and unwashed feet. A large gentleman approaches Dega to discuss his extended car warranty. He wants Dega to pay rent for the air he is breathing. But Papillon steps in, because he really needs that paycheck. He politely informs the giant that Dega is under new management. This is the look of a man who realizes his job description just went from bodyguard to human shield. The 5-star accommodation comes with complimentary pets, bats. Because nothing says home sweet home like guano on your pillow. The next morning, it's roll call in the mud. The warden is inspecting the new inventory. And wouldn't you know it, he recognizes Dega. Apparently, Dega's counterfeit bonds bankrupted the warden's brother-in-law. It is a small world, isn't it? Of all the prisons in all the jungles, he walks into the one run by a guy who hates his guts. The warden sends them to Route Zero, which sounds like a refreshing diet soda, but is actually just slavery with extra steps. Route Zero turns out to be a lovely little spot where you move heavy rocks from pile A to pile B until you die. Dega tries to participate, but he has the upper body strength of a wet noodle. Papillon has to step in and do the heavy lifting, mostly because he needs Dega alive to fund his retirement plan. Later, they take a smoke break. Dega shows off a drawing of his wife, trying to remember what happiness looks like. Then comes the awkward conversation about the money. Papillon reveals he didn't lose it. He's just been keeping it. Very warm. He put it in his butt. The money is in his butt. That is a level of dedication to banking that I simply do not possess. A truck full of ladies drives by, giving the men a brief moment of window shopping before they go back to hauling timber. Papillon wastes no time and starts haggling for a boat. The price is high, but considering his savings account is portable, he can afford it. Then, it's shower time. Or, as I call it, the blur tool workout. Everyone forgets their clothes and things get awkward. Suddenly, it turns into a slippery death match. Fighting while naked is high stakes. One wrong move here, and you lose something you definitely cannot grow back. Papillon manages to defend his investment, spilling a lot of red paint on the tile floor. He survives the sausage party brawl, proving he's deadly even when he's flashing the entire prison population. Arrive at the resort, and the orientation seminar is already off to a great start. He brought a very aggressive cigar cutter to the meeting just to set the mood. Also, wearing an all-white suit to a muddy prison execution is a bold choice. He's one splash away from looking like a Dalmatian. They drag out the guest of honor, who looks like he already went 12 rounds with a strawberry blender. Dega decides to take a quick nap because his constitution is made of wet tissue paper. They strap the guy in for his extreme shave. And just like that, he loses about 10 pounds of ugly weight off the top. The warden spots Papillon and decides to give him a promotion immediately. Congratulations, you are now the head of the sanitation department. Literally. He takes the body for a walk in the woods, which is the worst Uber Eats delivery I have ever seen. His partner decides to quit the union and retire early right there in the dirt. Papillon realizes the guard is distracted, probably thinking about what he wants for lunch. So he gives him a very aggressive rock massage to the face. He hits the snooze button a few more times just to be sure. Now he has to run, which is great because he skipped leg day for the last 3 years. He decides to take a leap of faith, mostly because the alternative is getting shot. Spoiler alert, the water is full of things that want to eat him, but he's too busy drowning to notice. He finds a local travel agent and tries to book a cruise. But this guy only accepts cash, not to use for charming smiles. Predictably, his escape lasted about 5 minutes and he is dragged back in chains. The warden is very disappointed. He's not angry, just disappointed, which is somehow worse. He gets checked into the VIP suite. No windows, no room service, and the neighbors are quiet. He stands there realizing that 2 years is a very long time to stare at a bucket. This is the part where he regrets every life choice that led him to this moment. Mostly the rock smashing part. He enjoys a lovely bowl of hot water with a hint of dirt for flavor. The concierge drops by to make sure he hasn't lost his mind yet. He tells him to keep it down because apparently the silence is too loud. Even in solitary confinement, Papillon has a secret admirer sliding into his DMs with a coconut and a love note. He devours it like it's a 5-star meal, unaware that this unauthorized snack is about to cost him way more than just calories. He decides to use that sugar rush to get absolutely shredded, because if you're going to rot in a hole, you might as well have a 6-pack for the rats to admire. But he forgets the golden rule of illicit snacking: hide the wrapper. The guards find the shell, and the party is officially over. Enter Warden Barrett, looking like he just stepped out of a laundry detergent commercial. He is personally offended by the presence of fruit. He demands a name. Papillon decides to play the strong silent type, which is noble, but the warden isn't impressed. Barrett threatens to put him on half rations. That is like telling a skeleton he needs to go on a diet. It's biologically impossible. Now the hunger really kicks in. His brain starts streaming 4K hallucinations just to pass the time. Time for a trim. They give him a haircut through the door, presumably so he leaves a good-looking corpse. The warden returns for round 2. He brings a bowl of soup just to be a massive jerk. He dangles the food right in front of him. This is psychological warfare. It's like eating a burger in front of a vegan, but with life or death stakes. Papillon still won't talk. He chooses honor over survival. I swear, I would have named everyone I ever met, including my 2nd grade teacher. So the warden goes nuclear. Total darkness. No light, no food, just vibes and slow death. Back in Dreamland, he's at the Moulin Rouge. Honestly, this hallucination is a solid upgrade from the wet stone floor. But then a mime shows up. You know your brain is completely broken when your fantasy includes a mime. That is a nightmare, not a dream. He thinks he's cracking a safe, but in reality, he's just caressing a damp wall. The madness has officially moved in and started redecorating. 2 years later, the guards check if he's dead. He looks like human beef jerky, but somehow he's still breathing. They drag him out. He survived 2 years of silence without snitching. That is legendary status. He wakes up in the infirmary, and guess who's there? Dega. Dega is crying, probably because he feels guilty for eating 3 meals a day while his friend turned into a raisin. He apologizes for not coming sooner. Yeah, sure, buddy. You were busy not starving to death. We get it, get it. 2 years of staring at a wall and eating bugs, Pappy finally gets a playdate with Dega. His wife married his lawyer. That is cold. She didn't just move on, she upgraded to the guy who was billing him by the hour. Pappy realizes that Dega hasn't gone crazy. He's just been playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers. The plan is simple. Wait for movie night. Because apparently, this prison has better amenities than my apartment. Suddenly, Pappy decides to audition for a soap opera. This is an Oscar-worthy performance. He is really selling the ungrateful maniac vibe. Later that night, we see why the barracks are rated 1 star on Yelp. This large gentleman decides he wants some non-consensual cuddle time with a new kid. Pappy steps in because he is apparently the only person here with a moral compass. He recruits the kid, Charrière. Welcome to the team. Your job is to be the bait. Next, they recruit Charrière. He's the muscle, mostly because he looks like he eats rocks for breakfast. He shows off his ticket to the infirmary. That is a lot of strawberry jam on his arm. Most people fake a cough to call in sick. This guy tried to peel himself like a banana. Respect the commitment. It is finally movie night. They are watching King Kong, a movie about a prisoner escaping his chains. Meanwhile, Dega is working the bar. He is making a special cocktail. It's a mix of white wine and enough tranquilizers to put a horse into a coma. The guards drink it up and immediately decide it's nap time. With the guards snoozing, the Suicide Squad creeps out into the hallway. They run into one guard who is still awake, so Charrière helps him find the off switch. Dega is wandering around in the rain like a lost puppy, holding a tray of drinks for ghosts. Look at him. He looks like he's waiting for an Uber that is never going to show up. He freezes up, probably wondering if his wife is enjoying his money right now. Pappy grabs him before he ruins everything. No man left behind, even the useless ones. Plan is in motion. They are sneaking through the corridors with all the stealth of a marching band. They hit the wall. This is the part where gravity usually files a complaint. And there it is. One guy decides to test the structural integrity of his ankles against concrete. Spoiler, the concrete won. Great job, ankles. Now this stealth mission has turned into an escort quest. I hate escort quests. They drag him through the mud because apparently the leave no man behind rule applies even to guys who skip leg day. They finally reach the rendezvous point, hoping their Uber is actually here. Their driver arrives and his customer service rating is terrible. He greets them with a shotgun to the face. Look at this guy. If I am going to betray you, had a face, it would be this guy. He literally has face tattoos in the 1930s. He demands payment, and this is where things get sticky. The accountant reaches into his personal ATM. The PIN code is squeeze. He hands over the cash from the Bank of Rectum. I really hope the smuggler has hand sanitizer. They set sail on the SS Depression. For a moment, it looks like a nice vacation. Until the ocean decides it wants a refund. The storm hits, and this dinghy is not rated for these waves. The smuggler decides the boat is too heavy and tries to evict the accountant. Rude, considering he paid for the gas. He pulls a knife because conflict resolution isn't his strong suit. Papillon tackles him, and now we have a death match in a bathtub. It's a lot of splashing and grunting until Papillon decides to cancel the smuggler's subscription to life. And just like that, the passenger list is reduced by 1. That is a lot of red paint on the upholstery. He wakes up later. He's gone from a prison cell to a tropical hut. Not a bad upgrade. He meets the landlord, who happens to be a nun. She tells him to repent, which is church speak for wipe your feet. He walks into the ocean to wash off the bad vibes and the strawberry jam. He's finally clean. Physically, at least. Mentally? That's going to take a lot more than salt water. The convent turns out to be a trap because trusting people in this movie is a survival error. He rushes back to save Dega, proving he hasn't learned his lesson about cutting dead weight. She tells him to repent while literally handing him over to the firing squad. That is some top-tier customer service, sister. 5 years of solitary confinement later, and Papillon has aged like an avocado in the sun. The warden comes to check if he's dead yet, but Papillon is running purely on spite and stale bread. They ship him off to Devil's Island, which is basically a retirement home for people the government wants to delete. He finds Dega, who has officially lost his marbles and pivoted to a career in cave painting. Look at him. He looks like he's about to invent electricity or bite your ear off. There is no in-between. While Dega plays with his imaginary friends, Papillon studies the waves like he's studying for a physics exam. He realizes the 7th wave pushes out to sea, so they test the theory with a bag of coconuts. High-tech engineering at its finest. They start building the escape vehicle. It is literally a sack of fruit. This is the most organic escape plan in history. But when they get to the edge, Dega freezes. He decides he'd rather stay and paint walls than drown in the Atlantic. So Papillon takes the leap of faith alone. See you on the other side, you magnificent cockroach. Gravity does its thing, and Papillon hits the water with the grace of a falling piano. Amazingly, the sack of coconuts doesn't explode, and neither does he. He pops up like a cork, proving that the best flotation device is sheer stubbornness and a bag of nuts. He gives a little smile, probably realizing he gets double rations at dinner tonight. He turns around to go back to his hobby of painting pigs and waiting for death. Papillon screams at the ocean, letting the Atlantic know that he is the main character and his plot armor is waterproof. He drifts away on his Nut Raft 3000. Cut to the future. It's 1969, and Papillon has aged like a fine wine left out in the sun. He's on a plane, probably complaining that the peanuts aren't as fresh as the ones he floated on. He's meeting with a publisher because nothing says rehabilitation like a best-selling memoir. He wants to publish it in France, which is the ultimate power move. Basically saying, hey guys, remember me? I escaped your inescapable island. Buy my book, it's 500 pages of him complaining about the oatmeal. The publisher asks if it's true, and we get a montage of all the misery we just sat through. The mud, the rain, the guillotines. It's a nice little recap in case you fell asleep during the second act. The text tells us he lived a free man and sold 13 million copies. So the moral of the story is, if you commit a crime, just escape and write a book about it. You'll be rich. Well guys, that's it. If you enjoyed watching me suffer through this masterpiece of bad decisions, like and subscribe. I'm going to therapy. See you in the next one.